Stronger,
Imagine a world without choices.
stronger,
Imagine you can't make your own decision. That wouldn't be a world for me. That wouldn't be a world for you. UIC.
Tell them we're gonna be stronger. Together we can make it right. Our purpose is a better Jamaica for you and I. Gonna be stronger together. Time we all just unify. Our purpose is a better Jamaica for you and I. It is a natural right for every human being to be free. Free, so free. So the government is there to protect you and me. UIC objective is to liberate the citizens from colonial bondage, them regulation, them taxation. Rob Jamaica, we independent. Be stronger together we can make it right. Our purpose.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to another edition of UIC Liberty TV. My name is Joseph Patterson, and today we're going to have a very lively discussion for you. We're going to be talking with a number of past and present UIC leaders who are here to share with you their experiences, what draw them to the movement, what kept them in the movement, how they see the movement today, any questions they might have as they've seen things evolve over the last several years. So I'm looking forward to it because some of them I've not really had a sit down with for a long time. So I'm looking forward to having that chat. And so I welcome all of you to join us. Your questions will also be answered. And we're just going to have a nice light chat today. We're not going to have any very tough presentation of sorts. We're going to just kind of chill out and talk with each other. So welcome to all of you online, whether you are in the diaspora or here with us in Jamaica. Those of you who are watching on UIC Liberty TV and on Facebook and other platforms, welcome to all of you. And please get ready for a good chat. Now, I am told by my backstage people that I need to make sure I say share the live and like up the thing and subscribe if you haven't already done so, and make sure you comment, because all of these things kind of help the algorithm to push us forward and help us to reach more and more people. As you know, the UIC depends entirely on you to help us to reach people. So go ahead and like now, share and subscribe, and tell your family and friends to do the same. All right. So backstage, I have some really nice people. I'm going to let them introduce themselves to you. I see that all of them are here now. I just want to say quickly though, Miss Janice Collins, our first ever General Secretary, she should be here with us tonight, but her father has passed away at age 86. And so, she's going to be attending to that right now, so she can't join us. But our hearts are with her. We wish her every condolences. And I'm happy though when I see people live to a ripe old age, and we don't pass away too soon. So Janice, our hearts are with you tonight, and our thoughts are with you, and our prayers are with you as well. And I hope she can join us at another session in the future. JMH, good night, welcome, big up, good to see you on. Jasmine Powell, VP, good to see you on as well. And a big congratulations to you, Miss Powell, because I saw where you were in Central Kingston, I think yesterday. A very hot segment of downtown Kingston, but you were there working with potential candidates and, helping the people there to get electricity in their local communities and to move away from stealing it. So congratulations to you, Ms. Powell, and the team that you're working with from JPS, and Mr. David Smith, who might very well be our candidate in the area. So good work, keep it up. And let's see some more activities like that happening across Jamaica. All right, without further ado, I want to now invite my guests on the platform and allow them to introduce themselves to you one by one. So I'm going to start with the most beautiful of them all and let her go first, and then the three men will follow. We're going to put beauty before what? I don't know. Anyways, so I won't, yeah, we'll go with the beautiful one first and then the nice gentleman can come afterwards. So, welcome, Miss Hyman. How are you doing today? Oh, I can't hear you. You've lost your voice. You've lost your voice. Unmute yourself.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Josie, for inviting me to this segment of the UIC, the Road to Freedom podcast, if I may say. And I'm so happy to be here. And I hope whatever this forum is geared toward achieving, it will be done.
Absolutely, and with your help, we're definitely going to achieve it. So, quick introduction from my side. Miss Diana Hyman was one of the earliest general secretaries we had. If my memory serves me right, I think you came right after Janice. I think so, Janice Collins, and it was you.
That's
And
right.
she was quite instrumental in those formative years. I think she went from somewhere 2017, 16, 17 into 18, 19, somewhere there. She was actually my right hand person for much of that period. So thank you, Ms. Simon, for your contribution to the movement. I'm going to come back to you shortly to tell us some more about that. But let me now bring in our first ever treasurer, Mr. Craig Mackenzie. Welcome, Mr. Mackenzie. How are you doing?
Welcome, sir. Thank you for inviting me. I'm doing well. Again, my name is Craig Mackenzie, and I was one of the very first,
The very first.
one of the very first treasurer of the UIC, the United Independence Congress,
Yes.
and one of the persons who was instrumental in helping the movement off the ground from its inception. I remember the formative years in my living room when you came to pitch the idea
Yes.
of a stronger Jamaica under a UIC vision, and I really didn't understand politics in its. I didn't understand it at all, and then when you broke it down for me to understand it from a ground level, to where I can my understanding has grew so much, and what to expect from the government and what we should expect from ourselves as people within a society. It was really refreshing and educational and informative for me. So I'm happy to be a supporter still of the UIC, even though I'm not the treasurer anymore.
Sure. I remember those days fully, Craig. You and your beautiful wife and your mother-in-law and other friends who came over. I remember those, Christmas time meetings, and we're debating, with other friends who would come over and challenge the idea of the UIC.
Yeah.
And we worked through those. We were challenged on every question, from how would that work? How would a system that might work in the Jamaica, the Jamaica people them, and we go through all of that kind of thing. It's amazing, and that was back in 2013.
Yeah.
And you and Janice helped us to kick off the first fundraiser in Ajax in 2014.
Yeah.
And then paved the way for our launch in December of 2015. We'll come back to that. So thank you again, Craig. Let me now bring on the stage another one of our more recent supporters, very strong supporter. He is not afraid to raise funds for the UIC. He is not afraid to work overtime to push the UIC forward, even if he's all the way in the flatlands of Texas. So let's welcome on stage now, Mr. Keith Romans. Welcome, Mr. Romans.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. How you doing?
Well, thanks for having me, and I'm just so honored to be a part of this movement. I came across the UIC some time ago when I was praying as a Christian, and I was discussing it with my nephew, and I said, "Man, I think this is a vision for Jamaica because it does allow each person to have the freedom of their choices, and at the same time do not intrude on others. Some of the things about the UIC that pulled me to it was the point that um, I remember going to college in Jamaica. I remember, going to school, go to college, and while I was in college, I was being paid a stipend. I was very fortunate to get a stipend, and in addition to covering the cost of my education, I was still getting a stipend. And that was very remarkable because I certainly could not have made it unless I did that. And this is something that I look back at and I said, why does all of us leave the country like that? And then nobody have anything to give back. And it's like, man, and then we talk about the country. People talk about what they're going through. I said,
Mhm.
here come a man of my own heart with the vision that if we all get together, we can solve our problems and we can make Jamaica a better place by uniting us. Bringing back the brain drain. I was reading an article recently about the reasons why we have so many brain drain. Of course, you know that we are the highest in the Western Hemisphere. More brain drain from Jamaica than any other country, and the major
Yeah,
reason too is because we're English speaking, and most of the big countries they are glad to have people who already understand the language, so they just come and grab us, and
absolutely.
then. But it's so many, just something else to get into. But the point is that
Okay, well, mhm.
we ought to understand that we owe something to our country. And the only way we
Absolutely.
can really do this is if we all get together, not only with people who are there, but people abroad. And this should not be intimidating at all. Should not be intimidating because it's really one love, loving each other and coming together to solve the problems.
Well, thank you so much, Uncle Keith. And your voice was a bit low, so I hope we can bring the volume up a bit later on. And your internet is a bit shaky, but we'll talk some more on that. Let's welcome now to the stage, Mr. Howard Foster. Mr. Foster, how are you doing today?
Doing well, Mr.
Mr.
Patterson. I'm
Wonderful.
doing very well. You can hear me?
Uh, We can hear you loud and clear. And just by way of introduction, let me tell our viewers that Mr. Foster cannot be on camera right now because he's actually at work and he can't show the background there. But Mr. Foster is one of our newer supporters, and he has been working very hard. If you look at almost every Facebook post, Mr. Foster is there liking, sharing, commenting, always doing his best to bring me back information about what's happening around the world as it relates to Jamaica and making sure that we're responding to those. So, Mr. Foster, thank you for joining us. Can you tell us a little about yourself?
Yes, I am based in Canada, and I'm a family man, but I'm here making sure that Jamaica can get back on track through the UIC. It's been a great opportunity to be here, and it's a great opportunity to be a part of the movement. And I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Foster. And now I'm going to bring everybody on screen so you can see a lovely collage of all of those persons who will be chatting with us tonight. There we go. Wonderful. All right, so let's begin our conversation by talking about some of you have said it before. When did you first become aware of the UIC and what drew you to it? So I'm going to start off with Mr. Foster. When did you first become aware of the UIC and what? Oh, Mr. Foster is gone. All right, Miss Diana, when did you first become aware of the UIC and what drew you to the UIC?
Okay, so in 2016, I was at the University of the West Indies studying political science. And so I was closing in and thinking about how could I put what I've learned in college into practice. So I started going on social media. At the time, it was in the heights of the political campaign where Damon Crawford and all these political leaders were, you know, campaigning and so on. And so there was a post on Damon's Facebook page that I saw, but I wasn't too sure, and it spoke about the UIC or made mention of the UIC. And then I started researching the UIC. I reached out to Joseph and asked if, you know, if there's any way I could help. And at the time, I was doing part-time work with another company. So I had enough time that I could, you know, assist with what, and I mean, it would add value to myself as well as to the UIC. And I looked at the mission and the vision. And so from there, we met, we spoke. I told him that I was available, I was willing to work. So at that time, I think the UIC had lost some of its members. And Joseph was mostly overseas, traveling back and forth from Jamaica to Canada, and for many times away. So most of the time, the contact person, I was the main contact person, you know, in terms of, and then so we would communicate on a daily basis. And I, you know, was doing a lot of stuff, but because I was acting as treasurer, because I have an accounting background, and I did a lot of things. So, you know, was filing the annual returns, I was doing the banking, I was, you know, coordinating with the membership director, Patricia Campbell at the time. And we were just where, you know, Joseph has expressed that he wanted to start this youth organization. And so, you know, he would, you know, ask me to coordinate and to have some of those things done. And the working relationship grew from there, you know, and we had a fundraising in Florida, right? And we went there, you know, we did what we had to do. And yeah, so, you know, I love the mission and the vision of UIC, you know, one of creating a safe, clean, and orderly society. And I like what Joseph would, is, for me, I saw him as a good mentor, and I saw him as moving, you know, the movement that he created is what Jamaica needs, even now. I mean, the support and the way he approached, you know, the mission and the vision of the organization. There's a lot of struggles, because even when I was trying to open some of the bank accounts, we had a lot of pushback. We tried registering the UIC with the political organization, the EOJ, and there was a pushback. So I was there with him all through. We eventually got some accounts created, and was doing our banking and so on. You know, him and his lovely wife, Charlotte, you know, but I think Joseph is a strong leader. And so I must lift my hats off to him, because I know what he has gone through and what he's still going through. And I am here, I tell him, I am here to support the UIC, and might not be as active as I used to, but I'm here, you know, and it will always support whatever the UIC is doing. So that's from me.
Thank you very much, Diana. Quite a lot there. But let's hear from Craig. What drew you to the UIC, and you know, what kept you involved? What was your first? What's the first? You said it earlier, but maybe give us a little bit more context on what pulled you in, what you saw that really drew your attention, and say, yeah, I want to be a part of this.
Well, the UIC came to me first via you in my home. And then after hearing what really stuck with me even to this very day is the model of good governance. So I didn't really understand that for crime to be solved, good roads, you know, food security, good transportation network all stems from good governance. And then when you explain that to me, then I recognize that the mission and the vision of the United Independence Congress is really you, the Jamaican people, I or we see, right? So UIC, right? Is the UIC sees the Jamaican people first,
Yes.
right? And that is what really drew me to the UIC. And then I recognize that we can do so much better once we have the foundation of what good governance really is. And I took the time to do just a very small definition of what good governance is. And it says, good governance refers to the efficient, effective, and responsible management of a country, organization, or institution. It is characterized by a set of principles and practices that promote transparency, accountability, participation, and rule of law. Good governance is essential for fostering public trust, economic development, social progress, and the overall well-being of the citizens. And I think this really encompasses what Jamaica needs today, and not just Jamaica, but the entire world needs a system like this, where we really and truly put people first and not just be selfish. So that is what really drew me, and continues to I think be a beacon of hope for Jamaica. It is extremely challenging. I've seen the hills and valleys. I even myself, people have rebut what the UIC's mission and vision is about. And the question is, how are we going to enable or change the culture of the Jamaican people? And when I say culture, meaning that, for example, I saw a guy pushing a sky juice cart, and I stopped, bought something from him, and I saw a picture of Portia Simpson Miller in the corner of his cart, and I said to him, this is after now understanding what good governance should look like. And I asked the gentleman, I said, why do you have that picture on the sky juice cart? He says, well, I'm a born PNP. And I said, what do you mean by you're a born PNP? What does that mean to you? What does that really mean? And he couldn't explain it to me. So then he said to me, his mom was a born PNP, his dad was a born PNP. And then I asked him, I said, okay, so do you think that the PNP has done Jamaica justice? Do you like where the country is to date? And he said, boy, things rough, and I don't really think the country is where it's supposed to be. So I said, then why do you have Portia Simpson Miller in the, on there? Like, I mean, you see, what does she signifies to you? And then, he was lost for words. So then I started to explain to him the concept of good governance, right? Transparency, accountability, rule of law, participation, effectiveness, and efficiency. Things like that I started to talk to him about. And then he starts recognizing or realizing that, the government of Jamaica can do better. We can hold them accountable. And it's just instances like those that I've used to peddle in Canada here, wherever I am, and I talk about it. And some people still think that Jamaica is set in her ways and there is no change, or if there is change, the change may not come in our lifetime. So
Wow.
yeah. And see even where they even lock you up for it. you know, and I recognize that this road, and then you know, I always think about Nelson Mandela too. It took him, you know, 80% of his life before he could see a South Africa as it is today. So
Yeah,
this is you know what it takes to bring about, you know, change, good
mhm,
governance. And you know, despite people come, people go, you know, I couldn't be as active as I want to be in the UIC because of other personal reasons, but it doesn't stop me from talking about it with, you know, people I see face to face or online, share, like, comment. You know, I'm in the nationwide news network every morning, and I'm peddling the UIC in there. And you know, there's people who push back, and there's people who like it, you know. But the thing is, it's, to me, I see it as sowing seed. So the pushback doesn't bother me. I just see it as sowing seed,
mhm.
you know.
Thank you, Craig. Much appreciated. Let's hear, by the way, welcome to all of our viewers online. I see the chats are coming in, the comments are coming in. Welcome, Mr. Lloyd Smith, Wade Noble, Black Card Radio, Elaine Beasley, or Besley rather, Anderson. Good to see you all on. I hope I didn't miss any of the names, but Jasmine Powell, of course, Blue Wave, my wonderful friend out in St. Thomas, Miss Elvira Samuels. Big up Desmond Myrie, the leader of all taxomen, in my opinion. Matthew West, good to see you on JMH as usual, always here. And Miss Eunice Brown, night. Good to have you all. Let's hear from Mr. Romans now. Mr. Romans, what drew you to the UIC in particular? And the first thing that drew your attention, the number one thing that pulled you to the UIC, what was that?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, but
Hear me,
speak a little
right?
louder.
You hear me?
Yes, you're low
Okay.
though.
Well, okay. What actually drew me to the UIC, as I was saying, I'm a praying person. I do a lot of prayers, and I was watching something that was going on in Jamaica, and they were talking about a group of pastors in Western Jamaica who were praying, and I
Mhm,
said, I am not there. They were talking about, it's like it is so virtually hopeless in Jamaica, the crime, the corruption, the overall governance structure. And I said, I truly believe that God can change this for the better. And then about a week after that, I came across Joseph, and it was when they put you in lock you up, right?
mhm,
And so I said, well, let me see. And then I went on one of the YouTube thing, and I saw a guy, you sat with him sharing your story. And I was very impressed by it. There was a lot of what you went through. I went through it as a poor person growing up in Jamaica. And of course, I started being more curious. So I started looking at your constitution. I think I reached out to someone there, maybe your wife. They sent me the constitution, they sent me the manifestos, they sent me that. And I get up early in the mornings on weekends and I read them through. And I said, what is wrong with these? I said, I can't see anything that is wrong with these. There's nothing intimidating about them. You know, this is pretty much about helping to make us better, a clean, orderly society. And then I started following your plan with respect to my two areas of concern. I came here as an agriculturalist, so I look at your plan for adapting the Norwegian, um, and I was watching some videos and what they're doing in Norway, and they are willing to share their technology. So I said, oh my gosh, this shouldn't. Why would this be expensive? to adopt this in Jamaica. I also was following on your plan for health because I'm now involved in healthcare, and I said, oh my gosh, what's wrong with these? And I said, this should be something that everybody there should embrace. But what I really liked about your approach was that you traveled and you look at what other countries do. And you say, man, I can take these and make them, duplicate them in Jamaica. I don't have to reinvent any wheel. We just have to transfer it here and duplicate them and make them better, because we have much more resources than Norway. We don't have snow. We don't have problems with water. You know what I mean? Things like that. And the way you talk about economics is, I'm very involved in economics here because of being a person in business. I said, whatever I want to put out, I want to invest it. So in other words, all those money that they borrow, why didn't they invest it in something? And so that is a point that you did went into. But just watching to see your plans and see how straightforward they are, how non-intimidating they are. And that's why I find it so ridiculous that these people would go all the way into things that are based to accuse you. And the other thing too that they accuse Mr. Patterson of is that him being a dictator. He's a firm man, and he likes to hold people to what they say they will do. And I admire that for him, because I'm a person who believes if you say yeah, you mean yeah. And I understand the last person who stepped out here. And I was following that person. And I saw where they were just so not reliable. And I remember when we were voting the person in to the position, the person said, are you sure you want to do this? And I said, oh, yeah. But then they disappear when it was time to step up to the plate. And because you and the team called them out, oh my God, you're a dictator. You know what I mean? So I'm like, where does this come from? And as I see Diane shaking her head, I know she's thinking pretty much the same way. And but what I'm saying is, I don't want you to get discouraged, because what these people do is what they did with Marcus Garvey. They did the same thing with him. And when they get him out and destroy his movement, 50 years later on, they say, oh, Mr. Patterson, oh my God, remember Joseph Patterson? And then they try to make you a national hero because of what your vision for Jamaica. But you are saying, no, let's do it now. Let's work together. Miss Diane, I like your motion. But what I'm saying is, we're here behind you, and I will do my best. I know I'm among the older guys here, and I introduce it to a few of my companions here. And now and again, we plan on maybe giving you a call to encourage you and to push forward. You know what I mean? And we're here behind you. And we don't want to take the little things, like people try to make little things out of nothing to use that to condemn. They don't look at the big picture. My God, this is ridiculous. So, but I could talk for a long time, but I just want to tell you,
I know.
Those are some. And what kept the organization is, each time I'd go back and listen to some of those videos. People don't do that and see what the message is. You know what I mean? Because you have to keep constant with the message in order to maintain your passion. But again, thank you guys for giving. Yeah. Thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to say something.
I want to switch us now into looking at your experience working in the UIC. You all have different experiences working inside. So it's one thing to see the big picture, the plans, the constitution, the manifesto, but then you get on the inside now, and you're working on the inside. You're working with the people, you're working on the projects. What were your experiences? How do you assess those experiences? And I'll start again with you, Diana, and then we'll come to Craig. What was your experience working on the inside, trying to get things done?
Okay, so my experience working on the inside, I think when persons volunteer their services, I mean, not just in the UIC, but in general, they come in with a passion and, come in all revved up and all of that. But as soon as they are called upon to commit or to do things that will move the organization forward, then there's a step back. There's some excuse as to why they can't. And then some people would even want to overstep their boundaries and, of course, start making it about themselves. And so I think for me, if you are going to volunteer, because one of the things that I like about the UIC is that the funding and the model does not promote funding from, and I think that's why it struggles and it's so sad. That's the way it is, that if one of these oligarchs, were helping to fund the UIC, today I was telling someone I was coming from Ocherius, and someone was saying, do you really think the UIC is going to go forward? What do you think is one of the reasons why the UIC would not be successful if that was the case? And I'm like, the UIC is not funded by any one person, any one organization. It's the small man. And so if Mr. President Patterson was to change the model and say, okay, we're going to take the funding from these big organization or have a one person come in and dictate, because I understand the reason why he doesn't want to do that, because it's the same thing when he who pays the piper called the tune. And if he was to do that, the whole mission and vision, I think the UIC would have lost its purpose and its mission. And so hats off again to Mr. Patterson. And I also understand what you're saying, because during my time with the UIC, we had a lot of persons coming in and saying Joseph is a dictator, because Mr. Patterson, I can tell you, he's very strong in what he believes, and he's fair. He's fair. So he'll give you your time to talk. He'll let you, manage the way you know how to manage. But if it is overstepping some boundaries, then, he's not going to let up. I remember I was reading through some of my notes for this presentation, and I remember there was this, one of our directors, I'm not sure if it's a director, but someone who wanted to run in one of the constituencies as a VP at the time. And because he wanted to come and take over the party totally, Mr. Beck, I don't know if I should name him here. So we had a snap meeting, and everybody voted against Mr. Patterson because he was saying, no, we are not going to have him. Everybody, Mr. Humphrey, everybody, we voted against him. I was going through the minutes of the meeting because I was also the secretary and everything, And I read through the minutes, I'm like, oh, this really happened. And at the end of the day, we all sat and we found a resolution, and the person had to go, and Mr. Patterson, we moved on from it. So as a leader, as I said, he's a strong leader. He knows what he is doing, in my opinion, because my studies is also in political leadership. And so I admire the way Joseph leads the party, leads the organization. And I think with his strength, his determination, the UIC will become a successful political party in Jamaica with the help of the diaspora, So that's just.
Thank you, Miss Hyman. But I remember that. I didn't remember it for a while. It's that left my memory, but you just brought back that particular scenario with that gentleman. I think he was from out the western side of Jamaica, very hot-headed and very aggressive. And the funny thing is, he has such good potential. He has a lot of potential. I mean, he could have been a tremendous leader of the movement. But I find sometimes people, they want to get ahead of themselves. They can't allow things to mature and develop, properly. They need to jump ahead. So thanks for the reminder. When I'm writing the book, I'll be sure to stick that one in. Mr. McKenzie, your experience working inside the movement. What were your experiences? Working with myself, Janice Collins, Christopher Cattrall, Stacey and Bennett, that young lady from the school, name slipping me right now, Mrs. Patterson, Jason Latty, all those people across the world who were involved, the gay movement that we had to deal with. What was your experience, when in those early days inside the movement?
My experience was very, as I said before, I was new to dealing with politics like this, right? And getting stuff done for the UIC was a lot of it was planning and trying to raise. I think our focus at the time, because I think this was right in the infancy stage.
Mm-hmm.
Like it had, to me, it had, in my opinion, it had just, it's like a mother just giving birth. So the child just came out. And, the strategies to raise funding in the diaspora, within the diaspora, and even, it was most of the diaspora. I don't think it was, anyone else from Jamaica. It was in the diaspora here. And then we had created the Stand Up Jamaica. Was it Stand Up Jamaica?
Yes, it was called Stand Up Jamaica first.
Stand Up Jamaica.
The group, yes.
And that is where I spent a lot of my time. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes.
Right in that forum, and we push and push and push the UIC's mission and vision within that forum.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing I can remember is that I did a lot of my work was right in that Facebook space.
Mm-hmm.
And we did that one fundraising, if my memory serves me correctly, that one fundraising we did in Ajax here in Canada. I remember, I can't remember all the details of what I did,
Mm-hmm.
but it was challenging to raise the funds. Still is challenging to raise funds to this very day. There's a certain people have their own, I don't know, proclivities of donating into political space, right?
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reasons, and I think we as Jamaica has not done anything to easily allow one to donate easily to a political party, whether it's $10, $20, in Canadian currency, or 1,000 in Jamaican currency. It's not that easy. People they don't trust as easy because of past history, right? And so that was just my my involvement at that time that I can remember. I don't know if you remember anything else. I really can't remember anything else.
I remember you emceeing the event. You were the MC for the event.
Yes.
And my two of my daughters sang at the event. Janice cooked up a storm. She did some really nice barbecue chicken for those who eat meat, and we had people from all over Toronto attending the event. It was in her backyard. Her husband, very quiet gentleman, was so very accommodating. The neighbors were very accommodating. and it was just a very healthy thing. Thank you there. Okay, all right, thank you. So yeah, so I remember that very well, and you know, you guys were very outstanding. I really enjoyed it, fully.
You know, one other thing I should say is that you know, working with you, Joseph, you know, and it's of late I'm hearing this the terminology that Joseph is a dictator. Like I'm hearing it a lot now, but back then, I think because maybe you know, my own father was very strict, so you know, having a leader that is, you know, firm yet fair didn't really bother me as such, because I was used to that kind of that regiment as a child growing up. So if it's you know, Mr. Patterson wanting to get some things done, and sometimes, you know, you don't see things moving along, and then you have to kind of, you know, manage, right? I just call it manage. You have to manage the situation. I was used to it. Now, if I
we lost your sound. You're back
Yeah.
now. Go ahead.
if I couldn't do it, then I would reach out and ask you, you know, for some help, right? But I don't I don't see you as a dictator, and I don't think this the UIC's constitution will not allow for you to be a dictator.
Yeah.
So to me, that doesn't make any sense, right?
Well,
Because-
let's hear from this. Go ahead. Sorry. I was going to say, let's hear from Mr. Roman. So what is your experience working inside the UIC? What have you experienced working inside with us? I think he's frozen. Mr. Romans is frozen. Mr. Foster, you've been dropping off and on. Can you hear us, Mr. Foster? Mr. Foster? We lost Mr. Keith. He has lost his connection. All right, and I'm not hearing Mr. Foster either. Oh, Mr. Keith, you're back with us.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Tell us your experience now working inside. I know you have worked on at least one or two committees.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Can you hear me? Mr. Keith, can you hear me? All right, the internet in Texas is not so good.
What happened is
okay.
my yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me at all?
Yes, we can.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Can you hear now? You can hear now?
Yes, we can. Yes.
Well, my little challenge that I have is with communication. And what happened is people in the diaspora, sometimes we're a little bit behind. You know, we're just a little bit behind in the way communication works. And of course, this is a challenge that they have here after COVID, with those people working from home. And that's why a lot of the bosses want them to come back. There are advantages of working, you know, in long communication, because it does open the gate for a lot of good stuff. But we still struggle with being able to communicate fluently all the time, and sometimes it kind of causes things to lag behind in the communication. I'm not quite sure how many people have noticed that. But back to the organization, remember, I came in, just when I came in, you did have that big blow up. You know what I mean? So I was kind of in the middle of that, and I was very upset with them because I wrote a long letter. I don't know if you saw the letter that I put out. Somebody wrote to me and I answered them, and I made it clear to them that it's the same thing that happened with Marcus Garvey, and you know, and what I was seeing in their rationale was pretty much baseless. So it didn't make sense to me. So I said, please, and of course they didn't reach back out to me at all. So I'm glad they did. But the point is that since then, I have seen the actual opposite of what they accuse you of, because you have always been pretty much, even whenever they're voting on anything, you were able to exit the room and allow them to vote and allow them to tell you when you get back. But yet you get the blame for the decision, which I think is like, oh my gosh, But the point is that you're strong. I trust you. I've known you long enough to trust your judgment and your passion, and I can defer so many things to you. I'm still concerned, as I had expressed last time, that people tend to push back so much on your plate. You know what I mean? And you don't have the support, the immediate support there to handle these things as fluent as we would love to have it done. But you've done it so well. But the thing about it is that is why I was suggesting that if the diaspora could think about setting up a fund to pay a team around you, just to pay them so that they can be accountable, and so that we can make sure that they do this and do it on time. Make sure focus on fundraising. Then, I think we can utilize the directory that we have of all the people since you've been utilize it better, because I'm here in the United States and I see how they fundraise here and raise millions of dollars by begging people. Yeah. And of course, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong over pitching $1, pitching $2, pitching $3. You know what I mean? Yeah. And what you can do once you have that team, you plan strategically so that the events that happen that triggers the asking. You know what I mean? I think that Diana will understand this. Whenever something happened there or abroad, or you're putting someone in the constituency, I say, we need this money to do that. We need this to do that. Don't forget to chip in. As a matter of fact, you can use it as a way of fact finding too. You know what I mean? As like a survey, because that's what they do here. They survey. And then when people put in, their feeling, they check. Then say, you know what I mean? And I think Craig will understand that, right? In Craig?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is that I think if we can really get that team around you, but get the set up these fundraisers and these surveys and these things to make sure that that's like the foremost of there. Because we want to harness all the diaspora and support, and then we can have diaspora. And can you refer us to a family member? Can you refer us to, you know what I mean? Because and tell them what we are doing. You know what I mean? We are reforming Jamaica. This is the only hope for Jamaica. We're going to take care of crime. We're going to take care of it. Touch the little points that make sense. And guess what? I don't care if I get it. I will send $3. You understand me? I don't eat lunch, Miss Diana. I will skip a lunch here and there to chip it in, right? In addition to my regular, you see what I'm saying? So what we want to do is kind of reach out to those people, like Craig and Diana, who were active but are now willing to still support to take a back seat. So we used to harness all those things so we can have consistent, thing coming in,
It's the key.
Those would be some great ideas. I think we can.
The key is to do that, Mr. Romans, and as you rightly said, you need staffing for that. When you see these things happening in Canada and America, even what's happening with the you were out for a bit. You were out for a little bit. Yeah, you're breaking up. You're breaking up. But I was just about to make the point though that when you see, for example, the very effective marketing strategy happening in Canada and America, it's because their campaigns are heavily funded. So even though they're raising $1 million here, they're spending, you know, 500,000 here to raise that $1 million, you know. So if we don't have the funds to spend on the staffing, then you can't get the kind of quality work coming out on a consistent basis. And so if we can just break the corner there and get that consistent core funding that allows us to plan and manage and coordinate and get these things done, definitely so. But let's go back again to Ms. Hyman. The next question for you. Now we're going to talk about what is it that you like most about the movement today, and would you recommend it to others?
I think it's unfair. I'm going to start with your last question. I think it's unfair to ask me if I would recommend the UIC to others. That section of the question I'll not answer because you already know the answer, right?
But for the benefit of our viewers.
Okay, so could you repeat the question?
Sure. What is it that you like most about the movement today? So you've been a part of the past. You've seen the you know, how we have traveled. I'm sure you have seen something new or something different or something about where we are today that you might want to comment on. What do you like most about what you see today, and would you recommend the movement?
Okay, all right. So what I see today is that I noticed that the team has gone the route of social media marketing. And so I really commend the team. I like that because it's easier to share, easier to reach. But I really want to see UIC in the mainstream media. I know it's a challenge. Funding is a challenge. So, and I'm not too sure, you know, because we have not been communicating as it relates to how to get you in the mainstream media. I've heard you speaking about the pushback on mainstream media, but I don't think I understand why is it that there's that pushback, and what's the hindrances?
I can tell you why. I can tell you why. The mainstream media is owned by the same people who own the two parties. So Jamaica's politics has been hidden for years from us. We haven't really understood it. All the money that you see being spent by the two major parties is monies that they get from the very people who own the media. And so the media that they own and those who own it, they have no vested interest in Jamaicans realizing an opportunity or seeing an alternative. So they don't want you to see an alternative. Now, if the alternative is weak and isn't really offering anything substantive, they'll show it for fun, for entertainment. But if they realize that your message is serious and can actually transform Jamaica, then they shun you and push it to the background. So we're never going to get the support of the media except we're doing something ridiculous or something newsworthy in terms of they can show it in a negative light. So for example, when we're doing the marches, the Walk for Liberty, they said you're anti-vaxxers, so they pushed that. That was the message they tried to get out to people. Here's this anti-vaxxer, group, and they tried to push that. When I got arrested, they said, "Oh, UIC's walk descended into chaos." They didn't tell you that the police came out in their numbers and that they initiated the issues and that they just grabbed people randomly and so on. So they're going to always look for negative press to show, if any at all. But I think there's a consistent approach now, and the approach is fully ignore the UIC. Make sure people do not see them. And if you show them, try to twist the narrative to suggest that they're not ready for prime time. You saw when I was on Nationwide and I spoke and I made the points I made. As soon as I made them, I was cut off. They never pressed because the points I made was I pointed out clearly why the numbers in their stats were showing what they were showing. And why is it that the UIC, they said, oh, but independence parties are like, it's only 1%. I said, yes, of course it's 1%. Because you guys don't report that there's a third party. You don't ask the question either about a third party in the surveys and so on. So we're going to be constantly pushed out of the mainstream media. But there's lots of opportunity on social media. But did you know that even there we're shadow banned? We have tested a number of social media platform sites and found out that efforts have been made to shadow ban, so our message are pushed down. In your time, Diana, we used to get a lot more traction on social media platforms than today. Fortunately, we found a little loophole on TikTok, and that gave us a boost there. But we constantly have to be fighting shadow banning. If the UIC pops up somewhere, it is suppressed very quickly. So it's an uphill battle, but we're overcoming one by one. Mr. Craig, your time, same question. What do you see today in the UIC?
Before you move on, I will answer the second question. So I would definitely promote the UIC because I love the model. I like the fact that the message is saying that we're going to remove the 21 appointed persons, right, senators, and we are going to look at electing a senator for each parish, right?
Yeah.
So definitely I will continue, and I've always, been talking about the UIC whenever I'm in spaces where I hear people saying things about, oh, Jamaica is not going anywhere because of this or the other. And they're saying, oh, we don't have any hope. And I said, I would say, yes, we do have a hope. Do you know about the UIC? And then I'll tell them about the UIC and I'll share with them.
Excellent. I'm glad you brought up the policy, Diana, because, sometimes people they follow the excitement of politics. So they want to hear something exciting every day. For example, they want to see me going on and attacking Andrew and attacking Mark and just having this ugly kind of politics. The UIC is above that. We're focused mostly on policy. What do we need to do to fix Jamaica? We're not here to be, bashing the Prime Minister or bashing the opposition. We want to identify for Jamaicans, what do we need to do to fix the country? So for example, one of them is, let's not have senators be appointed by party leaders to serve the interest of the party and the interest of the leader. Let's have senators that are elected independently by the people to serve the people, and that they're beholden to the people, not to a party and not to the PSOJ oligarchy, but to the people. So those are the kind of policies that we want. We want to focus the Jamaican people on understanding the politics of Jamaica and understanding the solutions for Jamaica, as opposed to just the entertainment of politics. Every day we're getting up, just bashing, oh, what did Andrew do now? What did this? And that's so ghetto. That is so mentally destructive. Let us raise the caliber of our politics. Let's start talking about what is good governance, as you said, Craig, understanding good governance, how we need to change Jamaica to get to where we need to get to, as opposed to the drama and the antics and the bad mouthing and the constant negativity. Let's move away from that and start to focus on policy, our organic farming policy, our transportation policy, our education policy, our economic policy. Let's focus on the things that will move Jamaica forward and not play politics with our lives and our future. Over to you, Mr. McKenzie. What are the things that you see today about the UIC that you find to be attractive?
The second part of the question is if I would recommend the UIC. Yes. The short answer is yes. Still do even to this very day. The first part of the question is I like the fact that the UIC is heavily solutions driven. Mm-hmm. So as you said before, not just the antics of politics, but getting down to understand why is it that the country needs good governance, and why is it that politics should be introduced in as early as elementary school. History, not just talk about Columbus and other history. I mean, it's good to have a wide variety, but I think that the movement allows for the educational piece of the UIC to be taught from a very early age. So like the nutrition for children, so that you can learn, right, from very early into the human, into the human being. Now coming all the way up to educating the people about good governance and what that looks like. So for example, one of the things that I have learned is that the ministerial positions, as well as a member of parliament and a member of parliament should not be able to hold a ministerial position, especially if that person is not qualified in that particular ministry. So you're an MP for a particular constituency, and you are, say, Minister of Agriculture, but your training has no background in agriculture. So to me, I don't think that really benefits the country. Now you could say, okay, even though you're not trained, but you can hire proper people to run that particular ministry. But that's too much tax burden on the citizens, which is wasted money. So, that part of the UIC, I really like. And I think that, the educational piece is really key, because I think a lot of Jamaicans really don't understand what good governance is, or what to expect from our leaders, right? So it's just, the scarce benefits and the spoils. When election time come, you get a nice curry goat meal, you jump around in a bus, shower and power, and then when that person gets elected, you don't see them anymore. They're not in the community. Some of them don't even live in the community that they're representing, right? So that's one of the key things I like about the UIC is the educational piece, the transparency. If you're an MP, you should live in the area. If you hold a ministerial position, you should be trained in that particular discipline, that you're able to do right by the people of Jamaica.
Can you imagine, Craig, if today our MPs were not ministers, so they could hold ministers accountable? They were not, compromised by knowing that they're sitting both in the executive chamber and also in the legislative chamber. In other words, right now, a person can't speak hard about what's happening in a particular ministry because that is tied to his party. He's also a part of the cabinet, and he's also on the legislative branch. The UIC separates all of that. We make sure that MPs are MPs. They focus on representing the interest of the people in their constituencies. They're not trying now to hold down a constituency and also hold down a ministry. And what we have now in the ministry, in the UIC system, are subject matter experts. So our health minister understands health. Our agricultural minister understands agricultural science. Our education minister understands education. Our industry ministry has detailed knowledge and expertise in industry. So if you have now a government where your ministers are qualified and competent, and they're over here, so, and you have your MPs now who are truly qualified to represent their people, and they're over here. And then when the funds are being spent, they over here can carefully analyze what the budget is. Has it been spent effectively? Are we seeing the results in our community? And they don't feel like they can't speak up because they're also a part of this system over here. We have separated the two. That's what we call separation of powers. Now, what you want are taxpayers and voters who understand that. So when they go to the polls to vote, they say, wait a minute. So the UIC want to give us a system of accountability and transparency. And these two parties want to keep a system of non-accountability and lack of transparency. Which of the two do you want? And all sensible and sane Jamaicans will say, give us accountability and give us transparency. And that's why we spend the time educating. Now that process is slower than the process of people jump onto the UIC and say, yeah man, let me just take anybody for candidate. Let us just do anything and just do whatever and make up noise and get excited. And then when we go in, we're going to do something different. No. I always tell people, there's a certain fellow who's going around now and he's attacking me a lot. And he said to me back in the day, he said, Joseph, you have to just do what the people want and say what the people want. And when you go in, you do something different. And I said to him, I said, if you are deceptive to win, you're going to be even more deceptive after you win. And it hasn't sunk in for him because now he's being deceptive and he's going around saying all kinds of stuff. But the key thing is, if we are not going to be people of moral standing before we're elected, we're not going to have the moral fortitude to properly do the work of the people and to do so honestly, with integrity, and in a way that results in us uplifting the quality and standard of living of our people. So that's what we're about here in the UIC. So it might not be as attractive as politics as usual. It might not be as fun as politics as usual. But when we are finally elected by the people, it's going to be effective. It's going to be good governance. Right, Mr. Keith?
Okay, so Joseph, I want to jump in here before you move on.
Go ahead.
So I'm looking at the model and I'm saying and I'm seeing where the 14 senators will be elected by the parish, by our parish election.
Yes.
The president will be elected by the national elections, the vice president, the county elections, and for the 33 representatives, it's the constituency elections. And I love that about it. That means it's, all politics is local. And this model really brings out that local part of the whole election process. And so the people is the main focus. It's the model is people driven. So it's a party for the people, by the people. Right? So it's a very wonderful model. And I think that we should, you should, well, I said we, because I believe I'm still a part of the UIC. We should let people be aware of the model. You should do more sensitization on the model, and so people understand what the UIC is really saying, and I think it will gain more traction in my view. And because I think I was on a forum the other day, and there was somebody making a comment on a social media page while you were on a live, and they were saying the UIC needs to educate its people more so that we can evangelize, more. We can talk on behalf of the UIC, and so people, we don't get lost in a conversation to say what exactly we are bringing to the people as a team or as a movement.
I tell you, as long as you see, what people don't understand is you don't do community work effectively if you don't have persons with time and resources to do it. So for example, if you want to get a group of persons into a community, you take, let's say, 10, 15, 20 persons with you. Most times the persons who are available are those who are not necessarily working, to be honest. Most of the working people, the mid-level professionals, they don't really have the time for this. It's very rare that they make the time for this kind of stuff. Those who are not working, who are going to come with you, or they're semi-employed, most of them, not all of them, some will be, they need to be given basic sustenance. They must have refreshments, they must have transportation, they must also feel a part of the teams. They have to provide them with t-shirts and things that make them feel a part of the team. This doesn't happen by water. It doesn't happen by air. It doesn't happen by wish. It happens by money. So when I talk about money, some people get uncomfortable, but money is critical. But I want to back up a little, Diana, and speak about what you said earlier, the model. Look at the model. We are removing the power from the politicians and putting the power in the hands of the people. How do we do this? When you elect senators, as opposed to allowing the party leaders to appoint them and control them as puppets, you're making your senators independent. They can now think about the parish and they can represent this parish, they can speak to the parish. So when the lower house passes a law and it comes to the Senate, these 14 senators look at it, how will this affect my parish? How will this move my parish forward or hinder my parish's development? And because they're not controlled by the prime minister or the leader of the opposition or by the party or by the PSOJ oligarchy, they can think clearly and they can act wisely and they can vote with a proper intention for the benefit of their people. Now that's at the parish level. At the executive branch now, you have 3 county vice presidents who were elected by the counties. So when there are executive decisions to be made, you have 3 vice presidents, you have the president, the GenSec, and the treasurer, the 6 of them together in the core executive. Balances of power. The 3 vice presidents are independently elected, so they can think independently. They're not controlled by the party. They're not controlled by the PSOJ money. They can think and act in an independent way. So even though the president over here, so it is 2 persons that were elected with him or her, is counterbalanced by 3 vice presidents who were elected independent of him. And when they go to the House now, the House, the people in the House were not partisan hand-picked persons dropped into the constituencies. They were people who live and work and feel the challenges of the constituency. So they now are going to come to the table representing the people who sent them there, because our model is 100% publicly funded. What does this mean? It means that there's no candidate who is elected because of PSOJ money, no candidate elected because of the colonial masters giving any money through whichever side door, no candidate elected because of a bad man who have money and give them something through whichever avenue. All of them would have been elected independent of big money or any other form of money except the public funding. The UIC model guarantees Jamaica proper checks and balances, clear and transparent governance, and one that's focused on we the people, because the government will be of the people, by the people, and for the people in every sense of the word. That's what we're fighting for. Good governance. Yeah? So, next question. Based on the current climate of politics in Jamaica, how would you advise the UIC? Mr. Roman.
Mr. Keith wasn't asked the question that both of us.
Oh, you missed that question? Oh, I'm so sorry. Mr. Keith, let's go back to the question I asked everybody else, which was, what do you like most about the UIC today? And would you recommend the UIC to others?
It's not on.
You're muted. Can't hear you. You're muted. Unmute yourself. Still no? Still can't hear you. Yeah, we're not hearing you at all. You're not muted on our side. Yeah, no sound at all. All right, we'll come back to you. Hopefully you'll get it. So Craig McKenzie, let's go with you first this time. We'll come back to Miss Diana. So given the current state of affairs of politics in Jamaica, like what you're seeing happening now, how would you advise the UIC? What would you tell us we should do now based on where you see things happening? And feel free to raise any current issue that you want to raise in asking that question.
Okay. Number one, that's on that is really a number. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Number one, that's really a hot topic right now is the bank account for the UIC. I think that we should fight, claw, scratch, whatever it is we need to do to get this up and running. Again, it speaks to that accountability, transparency part of the vision. Believe me, I know the challenges. I've heard the challenges. I have even, inquired, in the background to see how best we can get this up and running. And I don't know really why, the real reason why it is so challenging. And I know it's not because for lack of trying. Like, you have tried yourself, you have given it over to members of the NEC, and it is still challenging. That's one of the hot topic right now. That's what I would see. That is front and center right now for me.
Yes. And I can comment on it to say, throughout history, the best way to take down any leader is accusations around money. Throughout history, it's the best way. They used it to take down Marcus Garvey. They said that he would engage in mail fraud as it relates to money, investments and funds. They accused him of fraud, monetary fraud, and they used that to take him down and kick him out of the US and stop the UNIA from its success. So I mentioned to my UIC peers years ago that the reason they don't want to give us a bank account is as long as we don't have a bank account, that remains a crack, a window, an opportunity for persons to accuse you of doing things. You cannot do business without a bank account. You must have somewhere to receive funds and then disburse funds. Especially if we're going to be funded by the diaspora, they have to send money into a portal, and then the money has to come out of that portal to pay for things. And so if you don't have a bank account, you are exposed. And so they want to keep the UIC exposed, and that's why all the banks keeps putting us off. You might recall, Miss Iman, when we did the attempt with CIBC, for example, how they stretched us on. So they give us one set of requirements, we fulfill it. Some time stretch on, they give you another set of requirements, you fulfill it. Some more time stretch on. Then eventually, the crux of the matter, they said, okay, how will you verify the source from where your donors give us this money? And we say to them, very simple. You tell us how the other organizations you work with right now, the other two parties for whom you have bank accounts, and the charities and the non-profits, tell us what they do and we will do the same thing. No, we can't tell you that because it's confidential. But I said, don't tell us for any one of them, just tell us the general principles. No, we can't do that. I said, okay, tell us what you will accept and we will do what you are saying we need to do. no, we can't. You tell us how you are going to do it. And so they put the onus on us to answer a question that we don't know. We can't know what will be satisfactory to them. We must come up with something, how we are going to verify where Craig get the $25 and send to us, where Keys get the $50 he sends to us, where Mr. Brown gets the $5 he sent. We must know with certainty where that person gets it. So they've used that. Now the regulations in Jamaica allows the bank to do that. Right now we're in negotiations with NCB. It's been now approximately 4 or 5 months since we gave them the first set of documents. And it has just recently they sent us one simple email. What is your TRN number? Now that's something we gave them from way back in the first beginning. But you get one email now, what is the TRN number? Last week we got another email from them. That email said, what will you be using the bank account for? I mean, it was so ridiculous to answer, but I had to, give Chase a answer. They said 2 things. What will you use the bank account for? And where will you be receiving funds from? So we said we'll use the bank account for transacting the business of the UIC, and our funds will come from our patrons, those who want to donate to the organization. Now, these are silly questions. We're just answering it because we have to answer it. But these are silly questions. When you fill out the first set of forms, they already ask you all these kind of stuff in the form. So why send a little email now? Prior to that, they said, okay, we're going to send your request now to the board of directors because they have to say because you're a political party. So, okay. So we're waiting on the board of directors to get back to us on it. What did the board get back to us with? The same clerk sending us an email to ask, what will you use the bank account for? And who will you get money from? And then eventually, what is the TRN number of the organization? The laws of Jamaica says that political parties are tax exempt. The laws said that right there in the act. And then they ask you, please give us a tax compliance certificate. But we are a registered political party. Oh, what does the company's office say? No, we're no longer under the company's office. That was before. Now that you have a new set of laws that came into effect in 2018, you have laws to register political parties. And we have registered as a political party under the Electoral Commission of Jamaica. Here is our charter that says we are duly registered. Here is the act that says we're tax exempt. What more do you want? And again, that goes on. So weeks and weeks. Eventually, what will happen? They know this. Eventually, you'll change officers. People will leave the scene. You'll have internal conflicts. And they know all of this. They know, and they have people who they have planted to create internal conflicts. And over time, you'll just mash up. That is why, to this day, Jamaica has had some 66 third parties, all of which have disintegrated, because the system is designed to systematically destroy any competition to the two that the powers that be, the PSOJ oligarchs and the colonial masters, want to be in charge. Why they want these two in charge? These two will acquiesce to any rules and laws that they set to impose on the Jamaican people. The UIC would say, no, you have freedom of speech, freedom of association, freedom of choice, and all that. No. We want laws that fit in the narrative of the colonial powers. So if they want the World Health Organization to have complete dominion over Jamaica, these two parties will give it to them. If they want us to be under digital currency, these two parties will give it to them. If they want to take away our rights in this era or that era or impose certain lifestyle on us, these two parties will give it to them. The UIC, on the other hand, is saying, no, come on. We have to respect the sovereignty of our people as a collective and as individuals. And they say, no, we can't trust this party. We want a party that will work for our best interest while pretending to serve the interest of the people of Jamaica. And that's what they're working for. Yeah. So, Miss Diana, your turn. What? Tell us what in the current political climate you see as, something you want to talk about and advise the UIC on.
Well, currently I am not. Well, education is a big thing for me, right? And I believe that with the advent of artificial intelligence and machine learning, I'm thinking about unemployment, youth unemployment, and the reduction of opportunities in terms of when AI, you know, have taken over the space, and so we are already not well. Jamaica and the politicians have not find a solution as it relates to getting the youth active, and so that's the reason why we have such a very high crime rate. And I think COVID has escalated some of what was already there. So I want to see, and is looking on to see how they are planning to move the working age population, and how they're going to solve the problem because a lot of organization and research was done, and a lot of organizations said they are moving towards implementing digital technology in these spaces, and so that will also reduce the opportunities for the young people and will further escalate the drain brain that is taking place in the country today. So I don't know if UIC is looking at the developments of what is happening in the education space, with a lot of teachers moving overseas, and there's a wide gap, although they are claiming that they are filling that gap. If UIC is looking at that space and what strategies they would implement going forward, because in the next 5 to 10 years, I believe that is going to be a big challenge. And so I'd like to hear from you, Joseph, how would you approach the issue of youth unemployment?
Yeah,
we 1 second, Joseph, before you answer that, I won't take up too much time here.
No problem.
You know, Diana has brought up AI, artificial intelligence, and I can tell you that this thing, to me, just looking at it long term, this thing is going to be, I don't want to use the word dangerous, but it's going to be a game changer, a massive game changer. Because I can tell you, just say, for instance, this is just a small example. Say, for instance, you want to put together, say you want to do a fundraiser, right? And instead of you now thinking about all the, the areas that you need to cover to get this fundraising done, you can simply ask AI how to properly plan a political fundraiser. And it will spit out in less than 30 seconds what you are to do. And if there's something within what it says that you don't like, you can tell it exactly what you don't like, or ask it to eliminate and do exactly what you want it to do, and will spit it out within seconds. It's going to get rid of a lot. I believe, in my opinion, it will get rid of a lot of lower level jobs. So for example, I work for a Toyota dealer. The front receptionist in the sales area, the receptionist in the service reception area, AI will totally eliminate those jobs. I mean, dare I go as far as being a lawyer? It could potentially eliminate a lawyer's job. I don't know if you've ever been on that platform. Have you gone on it, ChatGPT?
No, but I know about it fully, and I knew it before it came. In my profession as an accountant, back in the day when I just started in accounting, you needed for most companies, you need a team of, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 persons to do their accounts function, AP, AR, all kind of stuff. Today, the team what you needed 10 to 15 persons for then, you only need 2 to 3 today, right? In one profession. So all the professions are being challenged, and it's more where you need creativity, a lot of creativity, that you will need more human touch. Anything that can be programmed, that is repetitive, that is database driven, meaning you can draw on a pool of data and make decisions about it, all of those positions will be challenged or augmented. Now, I'm not afraid of the technology. What I'm afraid of is our response to the technology. We do not have leaders who are inclined, prepared, informed enough to lead Jamaica correctly. They're very focused on narrow, short-term political windfalls. How do I win the next election? How do I kick the can down the road a little further? So they're not keen on development, which is why currently a child will finish basic school and haven't learned the basics. And they'll go to primary school and have not mastered primary skills. And they'll go to secondary school and are still not much further than basic school in their mental development and competencies. The UIC will address this on 2 fronts. Front number 1, you have to deal with who we have now, the products that are coming out now, those who have come out already and are now in the society. So you need a program that will harness them and restructure their thinking and give them an opportunity to re-engage in the productive workforce. So that is one. Futuristically now, you have to design a system where you understand that your human capital is your most important capital. Even with AI, it's still people. People, if you replace people with AI, those people are going to come and kill you. So you need to fix those people. So what we're going to do is to make sure that at the basic school level, you must have a master's degree education, not necessarily a degree, but an education that allows you to raise children, ensuring that they learn the fundamentals of math, English, and proper socialization, social behaviors very early. So you need to treat basic school like you treat a master's degree program. You can't afford anymore to let your children grow up without proper training, proper education, and most importantly, proper nutrition that develops the brain and allow them to understand and assimilate and learn to work together effectively. So we have to prioritize early childhood education and prenatal education, dealing with the mother before the child is born. We have to remove our mothers from the situation where they're eating poorly and expecting to have healthy children, right? Now, we can't force them, but you can educate them and you can support them to make the right choices for the children coming in. Then you have to make sure that the children do not move from basic school into primary school not having the fundamental skills. That first 3 years, from 3 to 6, must be carefully monitored. We must know clearly what's happening with each and every one of those child. They must be charted and followed, monitored all the way through, so you can find where we're having serious problems and fix it early in the process. So in primary school now, by the time they finish that period from grade 1 to grade 6, you want to ensure their mathematical competences, their reasoning and logic competences, their interpersonal skills development are fully intact leaving primary school. And then when they get to secondary school, they're now in a position already to start forming clear understanding of the pathways they're going to choose for their future development, their future careers. And those career choices must not be built on just passing exams. They have to make sure that they understand 3 fundamental components. They must understand themselves, mind, body, and personality, how to form a solid character. They must understand, number 3, how to form good and lasting relationships, parental, marital, social, business relationships. And number 3, they must master money, understand taxes, inflation, economics, politics, law. all the things you need to be a very effective human being, not just to be a cog in an industrial machine, but a person that can have a good family relation, a good relation with your wife, with your children, with your neighbors, with other countries. So we have to move away from education as a conveyor belt that spits out workers to education as a human development tool that gives us human beings that are ready for life, not just for work, but for life, so that they can understand civics, understand governance, they can reason now. They can't just be tricked by Chinese coming in and offering you something that sounds good, but when you've actually implemented, it's ripping out your, let's say bauxite, for example. The kind of politicians we have are people who only see a few dollars in bauxite. They don't see the impact on our water table. They don't see the impact on our air quality. They don't see the impact on our agriculture. They don't see the impact on our food security. They don't see the impact on our long-term sustainability. So they allow somebody to come in and just dig out all of our resources, pollute our rivers and our water table, pollute our air, devastate our farmers, and then leave the country. And then we think that because we got a few dollars, we're better off. No, it's better them keep the money and we keep our ecology. It's better we have a healthy environment, farmers that are really producing, children that are playing in water and earth that's clean and pure, than to have a few dollars and have a long-term lasting them. And that's because our education is weak. So Diana, to your question, the way the UIC is going to do this, we're going to go back to basics, basics that we never fully understood, and invest in true human capital development so that we now can become the producers of AI technology, we the manipulators of AI technology, and we the engineers that leads the future. But to do that, we also have to deal with the present. Those who are coming out, we must get all of those young people into apprenticeship programs where they're being paid to learn and to grow. And those who are already past that stage, we must now give them new employment by, for example, going to community tourism and putting tourism at the micro level rather than at the macro big, levels. Bring tourism right throughout the country. Bring mass farming to Jamaica on a level that's embraced by the Netherlands so that we have massive organic farming and give ourselves a competitive advantage, which we have naturally. If we do these things, we can absorb the workforce that is out there. We can engage our children while we're doing the back-end work of bringing up the new generation with a different education, a different mindset, and the two will come together over time and give us the kind of outcome we want, which is to be no less than Singapore. Is that okay, Diana? Did I answer your question?
Yeah, so in summing up, I am getting that you're saying we have to get our school leavers to be critical thinkers, and they have to also know emotional and social intelligence, in order to be productive members of society. And so, right, and so with that, we can overcome whatever technological advancement that is coming to replace the jobs and the career path and so on and so forth.
Absolutely. And just to think about it for a second, and Mr. Romans, if your mic is back, you can jump in. But just think about it for a second. Jamaica, we're 15 times Singapore, 15 times. We have half their population. Just imagine if, and the Netherlands is a small European country, very small European country, but they're the second largest producer and exporter of food in the world. We have the capacity here to make Jamaica the organic food capital. We can actually focus our energy, bring our scientists, bring our accountants, bring our engineers, bring our marketers, bring all of these different disciplines to bear on making Jamaica the #1 producer and exporter of organic foods. Organic honey, like Bee Sweet Jamaica, organic jams from our Ibina. We can produce so many things right here. And there's room for everyone. All of our students, all of our graduates, there's a place, whether it's on the production floor or in the scientific research center or on the marketing side, or on the distribution side, what packaging side, you name it, we have enough work we have so much work that we will not have enough people to do it if we just shift away from the corrupt, time-wasting, antiquated, bureaucratic, redundant political system and just move into production, move into embracing our people and getting our people the opportunities they need, having leaders, having industry leaders, having entrepreneur leaders given the freedom to really start doing some work and stop holding us back. For example, we can stop making it hard for the diaspora to invest in Jamaica. We can make it easy for them to invest, easy for them to return, easy for them to get involved in any area. I want the diaspora, for example, to be able to run for office. Why? Because we need to get quality brains back into the system. We must allow people with dual. We don't have time to say, if you have a dual citizenship, you can't come to Jamaica and run. No. Why do we want to eliminate more than half of our population? More Jamaicans live overseas than live in Jamaica. The best and brightest of us are living overseas, many of them. There are some bright people here too, but there are many of our bright people. Why don't we want to bring them back? Let us not be afraid. Let us not be, what's the word? When you're afraid of being challenged. You're afraid of bright people coming into the space. Some bosses, they only hire people that are duncer than them, right? So because they don't want you to challenge them. I'm not afraid of allowing our best scientists, our best engineers, our best political minds to come from everywhere around the world. Germany, China, India, Africa, wherever you are, USA, Canada, come back home. But you have to have policies that make it easy for them to come back home, like a duty-free return. You can bring back all your assets, pay nothing, come back. We want you back here. You have dual citizenship. You're a U.S. citizen and you want to run in Jamaica. You want to come and run for office to help us out. Come. Forget about the fact that you have a U.S. dual. We don't care about that. What we care about is that you want to come and give back to your country. You want to serve in this country. Let's bring back the minds. And that's how you reverse the brain drain, by opening Jamaica to all Jamaicans. Any objections?
Point taken.
All right. So we have, go ahead, Mr. Romans. We want to hear from you. Still no sound. What a pity. Can't hear you. We can see your face though. We know that you want to say something important, but thank you. All right, guys, I think we have exhausted our time. We're now at 1:47. Can I take one more question? Last question. This question has to do with the fact that the two colonial parties, they get 300 million, 400 million, 500 million, $1 billion from the PSOJ oligarchs. They get money to run their operations. They get money for campaigns. They get money for many things from the oligarchs. So we all know that Jamaica is owned by the PSOJ oligarchs. It's a given. They have tricked us. We have not noticed it. We didn't understand it, but that's how it is. If you go to the polls and you're going to vote, whether you vote for one or the other of the two parties, you are voting for the oligarchs because they own the two parties. They own the media, they own the party, they own Jamaica. So the only way we're going to break out of this mold is if we, the Jamaican people, finally stand up like Marcus Garvey wanted and own our own party. And to own your own party is not just to say, I own the UIC. It's to actually donate to the UIC. It's to volunteer in the UIC. It's to join the UIC. What are your thoughts on that, ladies and gentlemen, or lady and gentlemen? What are your thoughts on that? Does that make sense? Mr. Keith. Who wants to go first? So does it make sense? Can we, the UIC cannot do this without, in my opinion, the UIC, it is wishful thinking to think that we are going to defeat the two parties that have the funding to buy all the votes in the world. And buying votes doesn't mean you're going to even give money. If you can buy television ads and radio ads, and if you can buy T-shirts, and if you can buy transportation, if you can buy communication, that's how you're going to get people to vote for you. If you can buy the taxi drivers that are going to pick up the people and bring them to the polling station, yeah. If you can buy food and refreshment for the people and gather and say, yeah, man, you're voting for it. If you can do that, you're going to win the election. The UIC can't win the election by us having wishful thinking or people saying, oh, the UIC should go there more. You can't go there if you don't have what it takes to go there. So what are your thoughts on that, Craig and Diana? Who wants to go first?
So in a nutshell, in a nutshell, we need the Jamaican people, those who are within Jamaica and within the diaspora, to donate. It does take cash to care, and I don't see any other way where this movement is going to go forward if it's not funded by the people. And as you know, you rightfully say that we really don't want certain organizations to fund this movement, because then you will be beholden to, you know, their values and not the country as a whole. So it's really important for each and every one of us to buy in to this new movement and not just stand on the sidelines and say, we're not going anywhere. We're not going to go anywhere if you don't help us to get to somewhere. So, and I'm sure that each and every one of us who are affiliated with Jamaica, whether you're born there or your parents, you know, you have parents who are from there, we all want to come home. 90% of the people who I talk to want to come home. The other 10%, the reason they don't want to come home, crime, they don't feel safe. That is the number one reason I hear from a lot of people in diaspora. Just the crime. Very few people talk about, you know, even shipping your vehicle to back home and you're paying for the car a second time. You know, but it's incumbent upon each of us to fund it, and it doesn't you know, it doesn't take a lot of money from if everybody come collectively and do it. Now I've heard this narrative that the same people who were asking to solicit funds from, those people need the money to, you know, buy their food, buy their dinner. If a single mom in a home, you know, they can't spare $1, $10 here because, you know, of their immediate circumstance. However, that same child might not be able to have good transportation. The mom may not be able to come home from work late at night without being in safety. Now, if you want that clean, orderly society, it makes sense to sacrifice that $10 for the betterment of the country as a whole. And it's how do we get each and every one of us to buy into the model of good governance. That model of good governance. And I think it's just a lack of understanding, because you see, once you understand what you're doing, once you understand what the movement is about in every area and every discipline in society, then I think that you know, people will take a second look. It would be a little bit easier for them to donate, you know, the $10 US, you know, the 500, the 1,000 Jamaican dollars, you know, whatever it is, the 10, the 20 British pounds, the $10 US. You know, so until we get to that understanding of what UIC or what we are trying to do, you know, not just Joseph Pattison, but what we are trying to do, because you're one man. and you alone can't do it. Otherwise, if you alone want to tackle this thing, you will die and leave it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, you know, yeah, we need each and every one of us to jump on board.
I tell you, if we have, before Diana speak, if we have 1% of the diaspora donating just $25 a month, it's over. 1%. That's all it takes. 1% of the diaspora. So if one coca, if one person did that, you know, when Diana was general secretary, she would have loved if we had, you remember Mr. Humphrey used to give about $350 US every month. So we hired one assistant, you know, a young man, probably around 20-ish at the time. Just imagine if we could hire 5 persons, if we could have had, Miss Simon was working in her job part-time, and she was working in the UIC almost full-time, the amount of energy she's putting into the UIC. Just imagine if we were able to have paid her to focus on the UIC as general secretary. She could focus and do the work that she was able to do fully for the UIC. If we could have had somebody working full-time as PR director, somebody working full-time, and it's not a lot of money compared to what you pay overseas, right? I mean, we could have done with much less, you understand? Today, a person can work in Jamaica, and this is nothing. This is peanuts. But we could be paying a person $1,000 US a month to get some serious work done. And that's peanuts compared to the same position in Canada or the US. But a person with conviction and determination who wants a better Jamaica will be willing to work for that to get the job done. But if you ask a person who is already struggling on the margin, they're struggling already on the margin, and you say, come and volunteer. It's not that they don't want to volunteer. It's just that every day they're looking for how they can make a little bit to survive, to pay the rent, to buy grocery. When I go to the grocery shop, to the supermarket to buy grocery, Craig, and you see the cost, most times it's higher than what you'd pay for the equivalent in Canada. Now let's understand this. Let's say you go to the store in Canada and you pick up a basket of grocery and it costs you maybe, let's say it costs you about $350 because everything is expensive now, right? You bought that $350 Canadian. That is approximately 39,200 Jamaican. The average person can't afford 39,200 Jamaican for they call it a cart of grocery. They can't afford that. Yet still, their salary is not even half your salary. You follow me?
Yeah.
The grocery that you buy in Canada for $350, which to you is expensive in Canada.
Definitely.
To you, it is expensive. In Jamaica, that is what they would have to pay if they're going to pick up a proper basket of grocery. But their salary is less than half of yours, sometimes not even a quarter of yours. So how are they going to pay electricity bill at a rate similar to yours in the US? Water bill, transportation, grocery. It's difficult. And as much as they want to volunteer and work in the UIC, when they come juxtapose the cost, it's very difficult. So the UIC needs to be in a position. We need for you in the diaspora. When I say you, I mean all of us, everybody in the diaspora. We need for you to realize that if you just sacrifice a bagel money, one bagel a day, 5 days. A bagel might cost what, Mr. Craig? Maybe $1.49.
No, I think it gone to like $2 now, $2-3.
There you go. So I'm behind the time because I haven't bought a bagel in Canada for a long time. So it's now $2 for a bagel. And you sacrifice, many Canadians, they buy a bagel on the way into work and, that kind of stuff. You sacrifice 4 bagels and you say, I'm going to give this money to the UIC because I want to see a better Jamaica. Those 4 bagels you sacrifice can give the UIC an opportunity to reach 1,000 more people. And eventually we have enough to win 5 seats, 10 seats, 15 seats, 25 seats. If the UIC only wins 5 seats in the next election, it's very possible we'll hold the balance of power, meaning neither of the two parties can form the government without us if we only hold 5 seats. You know how powerful that is? If we win 5 seats and the other two parties don't have enough to form the government on their own, and they have to come and negotiate with us. And we say, okay, let's negotiate. Here are some things we want to be done for the Jamaican people. And we can only do this because the diaspora would have given us the means to reach the people in Balaclava, the people in Silo, the people in Goshen, the people in Elam, the people in Betheltown, the people in Passageford, the people in Edgewater, the people in Gregory Park, the people in Sander Gully, the people in Maypen. Because of you in the diaspora giving us a few bagel money per day, you help us to reach thousands of Jamaicans across the country with the message. Because of you. The truth is, the future of Jamaica is in the hands of the diaspora. Those who are funding the two parties here, they're happy with the Jamaica that they have. They're happy with the Jamaica where the majority are suffering, but the banks can report billions in profits every year. Right, Diana? Every year they report billions. They're losing 2 of their top men right now. And these top men, 2 men, are walking away with $13.6 billion. 2 men walking away from the bank with $13.6 billion. You know who gave them that money? The people. Jamaica is not a poor country. It's the leaders who have kept the majority poor so that a few can enjoy the best and most sumptuous way of life. The system is designed in a master-slave model, Mr. Romans, a master-slave, where the masters are a few people at the top, not because they have earned this wealth, but because they have designed the system to extract the blood, sweat, and tears of the people to make themselves wealthy, while the rest of the people are at the bottom. And if you don't join them, they destroy you. I could have joined them. Ask Diana, anybody, if you have any sense at all, and look at me, if you can just reason, there's no reason why I needed to do the UIC and come and suffer what I'm suffering. I could just come to Jamaica. You'd have seen me immediately on one of the posters. I'd be the MP candidate for Northeast St. Elizabeth for one or the other, and I would win immediately. Even if I don't win, you'll see me in the Senate quickly. You see my face on post. Oh, he's appointed senator and he's made minister of this or minister of that. And in no time, you'd see me building a massive mansion somewhere on the hills. That's what I could have done. But I decided I am not going to do that. And I come down here and live between Elam and Bogue among the poorest of the farmers in our country. And I'm here. All the wealth that I have earned it. I have worked for it. Craig, you know what I have put up with to get here. You know the sacrifices I have made. You understand? To get to where I'm at. And I've gotten to it without a cent stolen from the Jamaican people. 1 cent, not even 1 cent, I've stolen from the Jamaican people to get here. And I come back to this country, and I could have easily integrated into the system of the colonial masters, of the PSOJ oligarchs, rub shoulders with them, go and drink wine and eat caviar with them. I could be smiling and laughing, telling you nice stuff, and then getting elected easily by tricking you and going and just sucking out the money out the back door. So I know what is going on, and I refuse to be a part of it. I am determined that my mother's sacrifice all the hard work that she did for one of the two parties because she believed in their message. She believed a lie and she gave her life for it. And I am determined to believe the truth and to give my life to that. So we're going to fight for the Jamaica she never had, the one she believed in, the one she gave her entire life for. And it was all a lie. All a lie. They tricked her. They robbed her. They deceived her. And I'm determined to make sure that this is corrected. It must be corrected. We must have a Jamaica that truly gives the people the opportunity to be the best that they can be. A Jamaica that brings out the best in all its people. We can do it, and we must do it. We must do it. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. I really appreciate the time you guys have spent with us.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Thank
the
you.
history. We've come a far way, and we're not going to stop until we make it to the end. One Jamaica.
One Jamaica, stronger together.
We can do it. Have a good night, everyone. Take care.
All right.
Till next time.
Take care.
All the best.
Bye.
Bye-bye.